But I think learning to be unoffendable is you're walking into situations, you're not looking for offense. You are there to serve. You're there to help. You're there to make others' lives better. Hey everybody, welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I am the founder of Forward Partners, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. Mrs. Deal, what are we talking about today?
I don't like that.
I'm not allowed to change it up like that?
No.
Okay, well, sorry. Emily Grace Deal. What are we talking about today?
We talk a lot about fear and how it motivates us.
Yes.
Often negatively.
Yes.
Today, let's dive into equally powerful motivator, ego.
Okay.
So how does it sometimes trip us up in leadership?
Well, that can happen a lot.
Yes.
I think the first thing is, and I hate when people start commencement speeches with, well, the Webster Dictionary defines so-and-so as so-and-so. I hate that. But
today.
But I think it's actually helpful to have a definition of ego. And it's a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. Mm-hmm. So a person's sense of self-esteem or self-importance. And I think there's a key question that helps define whether our ego is holding us back and creating challenges or really helping. Is your self-esteem in service of others or yourself? So we're all going to have an ego of some type. Mm-hmm. We're all, like, it takes a certain ego to lead, to say, I am going to stand in front of others and show them the way.
Right, believing in that capability.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes probably ego for us to sit here and do this.
Yeah.
To put content into the world and say, here's something we're learning and we think you should have. Like, there's a little ego involved in that.
Right.
Is it serving me or is it serving others? And I think that distinction really matters.
Yeah, most definitely.
When we think about ego, I think most of us think of the self-serving type, right? And I think there's something about ego when it's self-serving, it's very defensive. I feel like it's almost always looking to be offended. Right.
It's how do they not notice? Or of course I'm this important. That sense. I think that's what gets me for that definition is the sense, right? Yeah. It's not reality. It's fair. A sense of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when that turns out negatively and when you're seeing it in that defensive way, then I think that's where that comes from.
Well, when we think about egotistical leaders on a negative side, in the negative way, they're always offended about something. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of because the ego is always looking for that offense. It's always searching for, is this person seeing this great side of me, or are they seeing something different, right? It's always looking for offense in everything that anybody says. And when it finds offense, now it's judging that. And now it's really narrowing options.
Well, and you only have to see it once, right, to confirm you're kind of biased on the topic.
100%. It confirms, oh, this person's against me. Well, once you're offended, your options really narrow a lot. When you are unoffendable, and it's funny, I talk about it all the time, I'm really trying to live my life in a way that I'm unoffendable. And the way I describe this, and people think I'm insane, but that's okay, you're already watching. When I describe this, my idea is, if you came across the table and punched me in the mouth, in an ideal world, my first thought would be, man, what happened to them?
Why? Yeah.
Why did they think that was okay? Are they okay? They're clearly not in a good spot, right? Now, I'm not saying I wouldn't punch back, but I'm saying I would love for my first thought to be, I am so unoffendable, you could physically smack me, and I would be okay.
Yeah.
I would be concerned about you.
That curiosity jumps first.
Yeah,
why?
Exactly. That curiosity, the outward focus, the healthy leader side. Now, that's an extreme example. But I think learning to be unoffendable is you're walking into situations, you're not looking for offense. You are there to serve. You're there to help. You're there to make others' lives better, not to defend against some kind of slight.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that's where the negative ego goes wrong all the time, is we are looking for that offense. Because I think there's something about, I'm just thinking this for the first time, so we'll work through this and see if it makes sense or not. But I'm thinking about the negative side of ego is they probably understand that what their ego is telling them is not 100% true. Like they have this inflated view of themselves and what they're capable of and how successful they are. They probably know deep down it's not true, and they're looking for offense to defend against it so that no one else sees that it's not true.
Right. Well, and there is probably, I don't know if this may make sense, but if you have that kind of inflated ego idea, I mean, we all have self-worth. Like we all are worthy.
Yes.
So that's not fake.
Yeah.
But I think it's when we get to the point where we have to we feel like we have to convince everyone else.
Yes.
That's where that kind of inflated sense comes from.
And the defensive side comes from.
And then we do feel a little fake, right? You can feel fake in that because you're telling yourself this story that's kind of like this bigger thing. Yeah. And that's when you do feel like you have to start convincing people because you're like, no, see how important I am.
Yes.
And that's where it starts to, and people feel that. People can also feel that fake.
Yeah. It feels really gross.
We all have that like monitor for that. Yes. So I think that's where that maybe comes from.
And I think it's understanding it's not binary either. It's not a switch that we flip to say, well, I'm the healthy ego now. I'll never be unhealthy. I think it's like everything else. We can be healthy leaders. We can be unhealthy leaders.
Yeah, and I think the minute you say that, then you are putting yourself in the other category. Look at me and how healthy I am.
Right? I think it's understanding that like we can veer from healthy to average to unhealthy and back up again and back down again. Ego is probably the same way. I think there's some ways that we can all be really egotistical leaders in a positive way. We are there to serve. We're there to help. We're there to love and care for. We're there to lead. And then there's times it can be a little more negative egotistical. Yeah. It can drain life from people. I think it's so fascinating thinking about ego and how it can be a good thing, but it's all in how it's applied. It's that intentionality like we talk about all the time.
Yeah.
Leaders, let's talk next steps. I want you to think about your leadership and think about your own ego, your sense of self-worth, your sense of self-esteem. It's not always bad. It's in how it's applied. And so ask that question of yourself. You know, are you really looking to use your ego to serve other people? Is it in service of them or is it in service of you? And if it's in service of them, go in that direction. If you ever spot, my ego's flaring up, it's in service of me right now, that's a chance to ask why and a chance to try to explore and apply some self-awareness to understand, how am I really doing? What is it that's causing me to feel the need to pump myself up so other people can see it right now? What fear is underneath that? And so fear can be a thing that causes a lot of challenges for us. I think ego can too, if we're not aware of it and we're not aware of the effects it's having on others. So I think there's good egotistical leadership, and I think there's challenging egotistical leadership. As we're healthier, we're probably going to lean towards the good. All right. Thank you, Emily, for bringing that subject. If people want to send us subjects, they want to send us ideas for us to wrestle through, that's kind of a deeper, weirder one. If somebody wants to send us that, where do they send that to?
They send it to lab@forwardpartners.net.
Perfect. If they want to find content, we're putting out content all the time on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Where do they find that?
They find it at Forward Partner.
At Forward Partner. Perfect. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
John, thank you for I almost said co-hosting. John, thank you.
Coaching.
Thank you for producing. He does a lot of coaching.
Thanks for doing what you do.
Anything good here that you're seeing, he is coaching us, so that makes sense. Thank you, John, for producing. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing this with fellow leaders. We will see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.